Recently, Bethesda gave us a 15-minute gameplay reveal of Starfield, the next mega game from the studio, and the first new IP in 25 years, set to release sometime in 2023 as a Microsoft Xbox and PC exclusive. The game is set in the year of 2330, and as Todd Howard describes it, Skyrim in space. But how will this game's combat and gunplay be? Will Starfield be similar to Fallout with time-stopping mechanics? Will it be an RPG with guns or a legit shooter? What sort of mechanics will be at play here? And should this game be on your radar in 2023? Welcome back, it's Deltia from StarfieldGuides.com, and in this video I intend to answer these questions and more as we break down Starfield combat and gunplay from the gameplay reveal trailer. First up, is this an RPG with guns or a legit shooter? The most important question I wanted to answer throughout the gameplay reveal was how similar and close to the Fallout series will this combat be? More specifically, will there be a slow or stop time feature like VATS? VATS, or Vault-Tec Assisted Targeting System, is a visually dynamic stat-based combat system in Fallout 3, New Vegas 4, and to a lesser degree in Fallout 76. Most importantly, it allows you to slow or stop time and help aim, or aim entirely for you with a percentage-based chance to hit and also critically strike. This is a great RPG feature for folks like me who frankly suck at aiming, but it really changes the fundamental nature of the game to be more RPG rather than shooter. During the gameplay reveal, we get a clue as how this might shake out with the slow time effect when swapping weapons. This seems to slow down time, but not entirely stop it, nor did it allow for aim assisting or auto-targeting. That's not to say the game couldn't contain the system through modding weapons and armor, but the combat shown looks dramatically improved from Fallout series, but not the apex of shooters out there. Somewhat in between, I think, is a fair assessment, with more emphasis on guns than previous titles. As the fighting kicks off in the trailer, we get some early user interface elements that show interesting mechanics that could come into play later, specifically the compass with O2 and CO2. This again reminds me of the Fallout series managing your radiation settings and not getting poisoned or contaminated. I expect this to be somewhat similar in Starfield. With over 1,000 planets to explore, the CO2-O2 feature will be interesting to see what happens on individual planets instead of the same static gun battles with little variation. This might create some unique and interesting mechanics and encounters that we haven't seen in previous Bethesda games. We also get a pretty standard glance at the weapon UI and health. What sticks out to me here is the sheer amount of grenades. Having 10 seems like a massive amount, and this may foreshadow some traits and/or background perks that give you a boost to your overall carrying capacity or some other element, because 10 seems like a lot. As combat kicks off, we get a sneaking portion, but the UI didn't change. I didn't notice any extra damage modifier or a pop-up or that typical classic Skyrim eye with a detection warning. This could be either good or bad, or maybe another feature added on later, but I know popular one in previous RPGs from Bethesda or other studios is stealthing and sneaking. Combat initiates and you have a series of simple, easy to read health bars, numbers which I assume is level, and enemy name. After the destruction of the enemy, you have a simple pop-up for loot and experience, and nothing earth-shattering here. What was interesting is the lack of combat data, specifically damage numbers. We got no feedback on damage outside of health bars moving, and no indicator of a headshot or critical strikes. This feature in Hitbox could be in development, but would be an odd feature to leave out or not highlight if you can't critically strike or you don't get additional damage from hitting the headshot, which is the foundation of pretty much all shooters. Then again, the UI could be turned off or damage statistics turned off just to keep the combat and footage looking clean. Next up, we get a grenade throw. Frag out! The grenade effects looks gorgeous while hiding around the corner and a huge bit of AoE. And at this point, the main character had taken some damage and the health bar starts to deplete. Further on in the fight, we get a very low health bar with a glowing reddish effect signifying low HP. The interesting part here is the main character jumps in HP the next portion of the gameplay trailer, but we don't see a med pack being used, nor do we see a UI element indicating how many. We know med packs are a part of this game since it's listed as a character background, specifically Medicine. Med packs heal for 10% more. Even though the still image from the slow time weapon swap portion still didn't have a med pack shown. So I'm assuming med packs will be implemented on the fly like a potion or consumable from other games. There must be a way to heal, which the likely case would be through med packs, consumable, food, or water similar to Fallout, rather than a shielding system with regeneration similar to Halo. Will this be good or bad for the game? Well, I remember the early days of Diablo where potion smashing was the key to victory rather than regeneration or healing with a resource pool like magic or some other mechanic. I'm all for consumable based healing if it's limited by some other factor other than just sitting there chugging potions or smashing stem packs and med packs, because otherwise the threat of death only comes from one-shots or monsters way over your level. As the gameplay trailer moves along, we come to an outside portion with a big old gun battle. The first point of interest is an enemy with what appears to have a name, Brogan. Unfortunately, it gets gunned down in a couple seconds, but it shows a variety of either naming the mobs or the mob types, as it is a level 6 and the other are level 2. Was this a boss or a mini boss? We don't know because, well, we couldn't loot it. Not only was the aiming down sights very limited, it seemed like there was very little penalty on accuracy and or damage just doing the good old hip fire. And that hip fire was pretty accurate. However, we finally do get to see some aiming down sights with a good old iron sight, and that seems kind of odd, sticks out to me. The reason the iron sight was so surprising, well, this is a sci-fi game, and you would think there would be nice, awesome little mods and opticals to help you aim and or help you see a little bit clearer, especially since the high-end rifle called the Equinox shooting out what appears to be an energy beam or energy weapon of some sort. But we do know there's going to be a deep crafting system because it was shown in the gameplay reveal trailer much later. We have barrels, grips, sights, muzzles, and so on. Plus we also have different stages of these, so there's a lot of research and upgrading of weapons. More details on that in another video. Two more extremely interesting elements of combat, and I think will dramatically increase replayability, is jumping and zero-G combat. Near the end of the initial fight scene, we get a jump with a boost meter. A boost forward similar to what I've used in Mass Effect Andromeda, making combat much more interesting, injecting some verticality into it. If we go back to our pre-fight scan, the creep moon gauge shows 0.55 gravity, nearly half the Earth's gravity, which would explain the massive jump and boost adding via technology. Fallout 4 used a bit of this with power armor. It was a massive upgrade mod that allowed you to get a jetpack on your power armor. This being a sci-fi game, I'm wondering how extreme they will go with jumping and gravity combat. From what we've seen, they seem to keep the technology in the space wizardry limited with an emphasis on close to modern technology. When the game releases, we'll get a better indicator of just how far this will go, and hopefully some more details soon. Next up, we have a very brief image and footage of zero-gravity combat. A third-person shot of the main protagonist, which is interesting in and of itself, and an enemy in what appears to be a cargo hold or a ship, just shooting it out. This again was a mere split second, but it proves that the game will have some type of element of zero-G combat. Your environment, the planet, ship situation will determine just how combat plays out. We also get some details from Todd Howard on how you rank and level up skills like previous Bethesda games by using them. If you want to improve as a sniper, it's not just by taking backgrounds and traits, it's by using the weapon, eliminating targets, and ranking it up. The combat skill tree didn't seem overly complex with 5 skill trees and only one of them being combat. And with that, I think it's similar to previous games. Combat will not be the entire focus of this game, but a decent chunk. Starfield, as stated by Howard, is Skyrim in space. It's about exploration, traveling around from quest to quest, city to city, discovering and unlocking new adventures. This is a sci-fi game, so sure there's going to be gun battles, spaceships, and even space combat, but my initial impressions are Starfield will still be focused on exploration over combat. The combat does look snappier and sharper than Fallout series. There doesn't seem to be an auto-targeting system, but enough features like crafting and upgrades and skill trees to be close enough to what we already know and seen. This gets me excited about the game, and hopefully there will be more details to come. We also know there's spaceship combat. We will save that breakdown for another video, as it's a robust and complex system in and of itself. You'll have the ability to destroy, dock, and even capture enemy spaceships. Incredible. So that's a video. Make sure to check out our website at starfieldguides.com. When the game launches, we are going to have a ton of guides, whether it's character builds, tier list, weapon mods, crafting, spaceships, you name it. We will also have StarfieldBuilder.com, which when the game release will allow you to customize and theory craft your builds and get a URL generated link unique to your build you can share with your friends. Also StarfieldCountdown.com, which will count down the game once we know the release date until launch. As always, thanks for watching.